Hey, boys and girls, we are live doing an autopsy on the hangout. Did you happen to see the hangout I had with Brett earlier today? With Brett Alive? It made me want to quit.
I don't think they saw it, Speed.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I should probably link that in the description. But I'm going to premiere that and kind of do an autopsy on that discussion. Because I was trying to get her to the idea is we were going to talk about this idea where she says, "Oh, evolution is just a story," and the tension between historical working out of evolution and evolution as a theory, right? That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. We didn't get too far. We kind of got. She wanted to get down into details, and I wasn't quite ready to do that. And then I kind of resigned after about 20 minutes to a position of just endurance and trying to reason with her about this idea. You know, the thing is,
tell them about what you did to comfort yourself afterwards.
I went and made like I used a whole quarter stick of butter, and I haven't eaten carbohydrates in about 2-3 weeks, and I made 4 cinnamon sugar and cinnamon toasts with a quarter stick of butter, and I am so sick right now that everything, you guys all look green to me. I mean, everything looks
which just goes to show that even though you feel like you want to comfort yourself with food, it's never a good idea, folks.
Yeah, well,
it's never a good idea.
My arm was sore because I got a needle poke yesterday at the doctor, and I was feeling sorry for myself. So I stuffed myself with about 1,500 calories worth of toast and sugar, and it just wasn't a good idea. Don't ever do that, boys and girls. This channel does not advocate cinnamon toast. Anyway, so, and then
cinnamon toast crunch cereal.
So then, right on the heels of that frustrating Rebecca discussion, I started watching Taylor, and oh my God. For one thing, Taylor, if she happens to listen to this, I don't think as a scientist your overconfidence serves you well. I think as a scientist you need to, and I think that's what people misread about these abio researchers, is they are extremely humble about how little we know, you know, and just saying, oh no, that can't happen, that's not true, that's false, that's not a, you know, I mean. What do you think of that, Jason? This overconfidence?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you watch that Bread of Life stream, I'm like the first person to talk to her. It essentially devolved into a yelling match. So I was probably a little too aggressive. I should have been a little smarter to be a little more calm. So I acknowledge that. I might have been a little too rough on her. But my whole point was this exact issue, which is we do have reasonable working hypotheses around abiogenesis, but we certainly, most scientists will acknowledge we absolutely don't know all the answers, and that we are still searching for lots of the components around those hypotheses. But that doesn't mean that there aren't actual working hypotheses. There are. Now, she disputed that. She's like, the literature doesn't have any working hypotheses at all for abiogenesis. I just don't.
I think you are defining the term workable hypothesis differently. Like she probably thinks like, oh, a workable hypothesis is something that answers every question. I think that's what she means by that. But
I think she's thinking like, is there a abiogenesis theory? like as similar to like the theory of evolution, or like we may not have something which we could consider as an abiogenesis theory, which means that it's a highly tested set of hypotheses that can show beyond I don't want to say a reasonable doubt, but can show a high likelihood that abiogenesis can occur. I'm not saying that. I'm saying workable hypotheses, and so that's a lower threshold to meet. But I would agree, like scientists, there's lots of unknowns in those areas. But again, my second point was, if just because we have unknowns doesn't mean it's proof of God. She was trying to make a claim that it's impossible. These abiogenesis hypotheses are impossible.
Yeah, and I was trying to explain that even let's for the sake of argument assume that there is no possible explanation for this. You cannot make the argument that there must be God, because that would be a fallacious argument. But she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to discuss the logical validity of that argument. So
that's right.
I let it slide to another topic.
Sorry, go ahead,
Jason. What frustrated me is that one of you mentioned that all 5 prebiotic components were found in meteorites, and then I went and looked up the paper, and it's an article, and the article links to a paper. And then I told her that, and she just said, "No, that's there's what did she say was in meteorites? Something simple, something like formaldehyde or formic acid or carbon something or another." But they found all 5 nucleic acids and a few.
Yeah, there's papers about that.
Yeah, and then the other thing she said, she insisted that there's a phosphorus on John Maddox's stream. She insisted there was a phosphorus problem, that there was no phosphorus on prebiotic Earth. The Earth is made of 0.1% phosphorus.
Were you there?
So 1 part in 1,000.
Yes.
It's phosphorus. But what she was referring to is that a lot of it is locked up in minerals, unless you're in an extremely carbonaceous, or I think a carbonic-rich lake or stream or something like that. Or there has to be a lot of carbonic acid, and then you'll end up with free phosphorus. But I think in basically vents, isn't phosphorus available in this lake? I mean, you've looked into that, right?
I don't know specifically about that, but I would assume about it, because in vents that's basically all mineral, and phosphorus as mineral is pretty common too.
Yeah, and apatite, but it gets locked up. So the free phosphorus they considered a phosphorus problem. But there's a number of papers about the phosphorus problem, and there was a real recent one where they found some kind of lake, basically, which could have been like the structure of a hot spring, where there would be a lot of available phosphorus. So, I mean, every one of these problems they found, like the water, they keep going on and saying RNA is unstable. RNA is not that unstable. It sticks around for a while. I mean,
God, I think your camera froze. No, it did seem like it. But no, like I wanted to say that Jason, I was watching you talking to, I was watching you talking to her, and you were doing well, but I also feel like you were going a bit too strong.
Yeah, I know. You're right. I have a tendency to do that, especially when people really, I mean, again, I'm trying to be respectful here. I'm not saying anything bad about her. I just don't respect those ideas. And when
allow me. It's hard to talk to stupid people. I'll say it for you.
Hi, John.
But
anyway, Jason, I started this stream because I understand why you got frustrated. I could see the parts that turned the temperature up.
I mean, yeah, I got that too.
You were getting over-talked a bit, and there was just this complete denial of almost everything you said. And I don't know who went to credentials. She went to credentials first. So
she asked me about my background, and I said I had a PhD. And then she was like, well, you don't know anything about this. And that's when I said, well, wait a second, you're just a student. So hold on a second. And then I didn't even say, she was like, well, I teach this stuff. I was going to say, look, you're a research assistant teaching a class for your professor. So
Yeah.
just hold up on the fact about you teaching stuff.
I mean, many people in the chat fucking they were like say she's she's not a real biologist. She's got like a high school education. Of
But
this stuff.
she has a college degree. She has a bachelor's degree.
A lot of people
So
would,
can I ask a question? So was it, because I didn't see it, but so was she basically ripping apart the fact of abiogenesis hypotheses to say that means evolution's no good? Like,
Yeah.
And
And then
she's-
her,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
her big thing is that the more we learn about the complexity of the cell, the harder it gets to solve the abio problem. And that is that. Do you understand what's wrong with that idea? The abiogenesis started out way pre-cell, pre-complexity. We're looking way back at very small molecules and very simple solutions, right? And she's saying that the more we know about the modern cell, the current cell, right, the harder abio gets. Well, what is
How?
happening? What is happening in current cells has absolutely nothing to do with the problem of abiogenesis. Zero. I mean, and
Yeah.
that is her biggest hypothesis is this, and she got it stuck in her head, and I don't know. It's so difficult.
And then another problem I find, Taylor, is like when you are answering a specific question, like when I answered about the concentration issue in water. When I answer that, she
Oh wait,
tends to
2:30.
jump immediately to another topic, and then I answer
Yeah, I know,
that,
she
and then
keeps
she
jump-
jumps to another topic, and then
That's
I
a
answer that.
tactic.
And so, yeah,
I
it's
just wanted
it
to
becomes
say,
really unfocused.
I wanted
Yeah.
to say something really quick. At one point, Jason, at one point, she mentioned aliens and scoffs at that, and then she's like, "Well, where did the aliens come from?" Without realizing that's like asking where did God come from.
Yeah, like my concept of saying about aliens is so preposterous, but she's the one proposing a disembodied mind
An
that
alien,
has
right?
no evidence for it. I mean, actual aliens actually could exist in our physical world. The proposal is that God is outside of the physical world, is supernatural. Like, it just blows my mind that she could have come in and say, somebody's like got something running in the background.
Yeah, it's not me. It's probably the 11th dimension, but I'm mute anyway.
Dimiter, you got a vacuum running in the background or an air conditioner?
It's done, finished. Don't worry.
All right.
There
Okay.
Fixed. Problem.
Okay, great.
fixed.
Yeah, like if she were to say, look, I don't find abiogenesis hypotheses convincing, so therefore, an alternative hypothesis could be a God position, and I think that I can provide evidence for that. Although I don't know how you would do that, but by just saying, I'm going to shoot holes, like when she's talking to Speed. Like just trying to shoot holes in everything Speed's saying, well, how would that happen? And how could that happen? That doesn't seem reasonable. Oh, that's not possible. Like those things are not evidence for God. That just means we may not have all the evidence or information for a particular position.
Well, do you find it to be? It's almost like the flat earthers, like no argument of their own. They're just tearing apart the opposite argument. Like if I rip on evolution, then it's got to be my God that did it. Like,
Yeah, and she kept moving the truck on me. We went from simple RNA and peptides to how did DNA happen?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I mean, every time I tried to fill the truck up, she pulled it ahead 10 yards.
But that's a technique.
Speed, I have a question about phosphate. Like I looked up a paper says that during serpentinization of olivine turning into serpentinite, that releases phosphate as a soluble from the minerals. And I assume you know what serpentinization is, right? That's the process that gives rise to alkaline hydrothermal vents.
Right. Yeah. Thermal vents. That's a big part of thermal vents. That's the whole metabolism first thing, that phosphate was readily available, I believe, in that environment.
I'm just like insulted by the fact that she's making the claim that there are no papers that propose abiogenesis hypotheses. That is ridiculous. There are papers like that. So if you want to refute those papers, okay, but don't try to make a claim that there aren't hypotheses around this position. There absolutely are.
Yeah.
That's just incorrect.
Well, when I told her about the Bruce Deemer paper, she said, "No, that's not right. That didn't happen."
Yeah. She said you were
That paper
wrong.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, she said you're wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what is he wrong about? Like,
look it up.
that the paper doesn't exist, or that
Right.
those guys aren't like, what they're saying is not valid. I don't understand that. Oh, this is that origins of life thing she was talking about. Yeah. This doesn't say abiogenesis is not a workable hypothesis. It doesn't say that.
No. But what she's saying is like she was saying that she read a symposium where they say there is no consensus on abiogenesis. But I read this paper and I asked her what she means by that, and she said that this is the quote that she's referring to, and it says that it actually says that they don't have a consensus of what a complete theory would mean.
Right.
They aren't saying that there is no consensus of abiogenesis. They are just saying like, oh, what would count as a complete or fully complete theory? That's the question that they were answering here. But that's a different issue to what would be abiogenesis itself. So yeah, it's that's why I think she misunderstood what it's meant by this. Yeah.
That's not surprising, but I do have a question. Like there are many ways that abiogenesis could have happened, but how do we know which way it happened on Earth? Because you could prove that abiogenesis is possible, but then how do we get to us? Right, there has to be one instance of abiogenesis that gets to us. Do you understand the question, or do I need to try to rephrase?
Yeah, it says here standards for what would count as a complete origins of life theory may be unlikely determined by scientific consensus. So it's saying like what would count as a complete theory is unlikely to be determined by consensus. And more realistic goal is to try to assess the degree of completeness of any particular theory. And it continues even there. It may be difficult to attain consensus about completeness. It will always be useful to examine origins of life theories in comparison with their historical antecedents to evaluate their degree of completeness and how the evaluation of origins of life models change over time. So it's focusing on what would count as completeness or degrees of completeness. So it's a different discussion about origin of life models themselves. It's just how do we assess the completeness of the models. That's what it's saying. And I hope I'm being clear about this.
Yeah, you are. I mean, like the whole point at the beginning of saying like we don't have a complete model doesn't mean that there aren't workable hypotheses. And just because we say that there may be conflicting views of consensus around these positions, doesn't discount those hypotheses. The workable hypotheses, it only points to like what Speed was saying, is that these researchers are being intellectually honest. They're saying we may not necessarily gain consensus on these positions. We don't know all the answers on this topic. It may take us a long time to come to that conclusion, but that doesn't mean that there aren't hypotheses, which she's claiming that there are no hypotheses whatsoever. Even the poorest of hypotheses is better than the God hypothesis. She's not even proposing any evidence for the God hypothesis. She's just saying there are no other hypotheses. So she's flawed in two ways. A, there are hypotheses, and B, even if there weren't hypotheses, it's not support for your position.
Right. You cannot jump to X if you have ruled out Y or Z and such. Yeah.
So can I play something here? I think that kind of sheds some light on what she thinks and how she works, that sort of thing.
Please.
Let's see here. I got to turn it on. I hope I got the right spot here. I'm pretty close anyway. It might be just a second. Oh, stop it.
Well, not. I remember some things that you said she said about during the beginning. Like she said that there can't be any oxygen on the early Earth because it would oxidize things, but but you also have to have oxygen. No,
Right,
you don't have to have.
Yeah.
You don't have to have oxygen.
That's kind of stupid.
Okay,
Yeah.
now listen carefully to this phosphorus thing.
Now have banned Taylor's Insta and her Twitter, so it's piss. Anyway, continue, guys. Oh, and by the way, you guys sparked your interest.
Silicone-based life, and this just reminded me of something interesting when I was doing my studies on abiogenesis. So, in the primordial Earth, there was no phosphorus present, and as we know, we need phosphorus to make the DNA backbone. So, a NASA scientist went and came up with this radical theory that arsenic could have replaced phosphorus as our DNA backbone. They did some experiment, and it was it eventually got debunked, and the woman got fired.
Okay, so I looked that up, and what happened is NASA had had some papers. They were talking about life on other planets, and they suggested that arsenic could replace phosphorus, and they found a bacteria that utilized arsenic, and they had some theory, and they had some lab work, and then they couldn't reproduce the experiment, and there was nothing anywhere that I could find about anybody getting fired over this.
Yeah,
right. But that has nothing to do with it. They were
She's
talking
making
about
shit up, like Jesus
okay.
Christ.
They were talking about life on other planets, and she said, if you listen to her, she said there was no phosphorus on abiotic Earth. Abiotic Earth is like 0.1% phosphorus. So I
think to be fair, I think, or to be generous to her, I think she meant to say that phosphorus is not free. Yeah, it's locked in a rock. It's probably what she meant. But yeah.
But anytime people misspeak like that, and she's done it several times, it raises a red flag with me as to how much research they've actually done.
Yeah, and it's also, I think you're referring to there was like a few decades ago, there was like a hype story that they claim to have found a life form unrelated to other life forms, like a life form that uses arsenic in place of phosphorus.
Right.
But that was completely nonsense in the end.
Yeah, they couldn't reproduce the experiments, so they kind of abandoned it. But I couldn't find anything about anybody getting fired, so I don't know where she got that from. I got a feeling it was some creationist makeup story or something. I don't know. And then I was very depressed that she would not answer my question about the age of the Earth. Everyone has an opinion about how old the Earth is, whether it's 6,000 years or millions or billions. And she refused to answer that question. And the second question she refused to answer. What was the second one? I can't remember. It was
about did she believe in all aspects of evolutionary theory?
Yeah, and then she said, "Oh, I'm not an evolutionary biologist, so I don't believe it, or I can't comment on it." And
did you also remember my last question? I was asking about let's go back to my answer about the concentration problem. I point out that in the hydrothermal vent, that's not an issue because there are mechanisms that concentrate these molecules inside hydrothermal systems. But then she said, but there are all these other problems. And I was like, all right, so point to one, and we can talk about that one for the next topic. And she didn't want to say one. And Rebecca ended the conversation.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, why do they? Because so say tomorrow a scientist showed, this is the abiogenesis mechanism. This is what happens. This is where the first life came from. That's nothing that science comes up with is ever going to defeat the theist argument. You know what I mean? They'll just fall back to that position. Well, that's the mechanism of abiogenesis. That's where life first came from, but God's behind that.
The difference between science and theism is that theists can make up any story they want, whereas science has to make up only plausible stories, only things that we can show, steps that we can verify, right?
Well, right, but what I'm saying is no matter how much science shows, if it ever does show the theory of abiogenesis instead of just hypotheses, then theists will fall back to that position saying, well, yeah, this is abiogenesis, but God created abiogenesis. So, it just seems like a never-ending. That's because like you go centuries back, and how many phenomenon were attributed to God that we now know, the scientific.
I think it's also something that I think it's also something to be made clear. Like Jason and I also already pointed out that even if you have excluded explanations of abiogenesis, that gives you no reason to conclude that the explanation must be God. But there's another problem. God is not even an explanation, so it's even worse.
I just want to take a step back from this because I'm not making any statements about her credentials. What doesn't matter, but
right.
the point is that let's be reasonable about this. That she's a student, and she's making these very absolutist claims that certain things are impossible. I can tell you that as scientists grow in their careers, they oftentimes start to mellow out where they're less likely to say I'm absolutely confident in X. Oftentimes experts themselves are on a topic that they are an expert in for 50 years, they will say, this is a very complicated subject and I'm not quite sure I have all the answers to this. The fact that she as a student is making these grandiose impossibility claims, it leads me to believe that she hasn't actually studied this at the level that she would need to be able to make those claims.
Well, that's my advice to her, is that you really need to self-examine and become more humble as a scientist if you want to get ahead in science.
I see that Rebecca wants to come in, or maybe.
Yeah, I sent her a link. Her a link. So, if she is absolutely sure of her ideas or her theory about what aluminum is doing to microtubules, if you are absolutely sure of it, and you will not look at it any other way, you're not going to get very far in your research, and your research may well get rejected.
It's a very tradition for scientists to be as uncertain with their wording as they can possibly be, and let the data speak for itself, basically, because that's where the strength of their claims actually come from. It's not the words of certainty. It's just the data to support the conclusion. That's where the certainty actually comes from.
If she comes in, I'm really interested in this thing about aluminum. There's something about aluminum and Alzheimer's disease. They found, I think, aluminum in some neurons or something. And how in the hell, how does the aluminum get in there? I think maybe that's what she's studying. I'd like to know.
It has to pass the blood-brain barrier, right?
Here's Taylor. So Taylor, quit bouncing her around.
Hello.
Can y'all see me?
Yeah, what's up with the aluminum? So how does aluminum get into your brain?
I don't know. I just know. Let me show you a picture right here of.
As a child, I did lick a lot of aluminum siding. So
oh my God!
Right.
Look who's here! It's
it was aggregated. Okay. I'm gonna find a picture.
We have a full house.
There is aluminum.
Okay. Everybody's showing up today, aren't they?
Let Taylor speak. Let Taylor speak.
I guess it goes to the blood-brain barrier.
Really, but how do we ingest it? Or are we taking it in with pharmaceuticals, or what is the?
There's aluminum in vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but there's we consume aluminum naturally. It's one of the most abundant elements in the Earth's crust. So
yeah. So what is the correlation with that in Alzheimer's disease? How serious is that correlation?
Well, the tau aggregates, which is present in neurodegeneration, there was actually aluminum surrounding them. So it's not causative. We can't say that this is what caused them, but it's just kind of associated with it.
But that's what you're researching, is that it may cause breakdown of microtubules in neurons?
Right. So I'm doing different neurotoxins and seeing if they're targeting the microtubules directly, because I have a research model in which I can view the microtubules real time, and they don't overlap each other. Yes.
So you can watch them. You can watch.
Yeah,
them.
I can watch them like live. It's awesome.
And you can see them destruct at one end and create at the other.
Well, that's why I'm making. I'm making a fluorescent tubulin. Right now I have EB1 that's fluorescent that just shows the growing in the microtubule. But right now I'm transforming it, the Cleandomonas, to where I'm going to actually be able to see the entire microtubule.
Cool.
So hopefully it works. You know how it is in research. You just
I want to see
it's
the
a
videos.
process. But right now, yeah, my EB1's working good, and I'm able to analyze that. But right now, I'm trying to get tubulin to fluoresce.
Can I say one thing? I just want to say, Taylor, I'm sorry I came in so hot with you. I know we may disagree, but I just want to apologize that I was a little testy on the stream.
It's okay, and
I just wanted to say that.
I love everybody, honestly. No matter what your beliefs are, it's okay. Yeah. I love y'all. I hope I didn't come in hot, but we should be able to, just have some nice, friendly dialogue. There's a lot of people who want to.
I agree. Also, it's a lot more fun to talk to people you disagree with. Otherwise, it becomes really boring really quick. If you always talk about people you always agree with everything, and it's pointless to talk to the same people you always agree with. So yeah, it's a lot more fun to talk to different people.
I have to say I wasn't watching this live stream before I came in here, so I'm not sure what the discussion was.
Well, we were going over some points that we discussed previously, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sal Cordova, you haven't been here for a while. Do you have anything you want to say?
Oh boy.
Do you want a chance to talk?
I'm just here because I didn't think it was
fair.
Yeah.
Fair?
So I'm gonna let Taylor speak for herself. She's more than able to deal with all you guys.
I talk to a lot of atheists actually. So
yeah. But I
really do.
Like, I have such a low opinion of you, speed of sound, and the way you conduct yourself. I just wanted to show up. And
can I ask a question? Let me ask a question. Hey Sal, what was unfair though? I don't understand what the unfair.
Okay, this isn't about me. I'm sorry, I've already. Taylor,
John,
just go on. I'm not going to say anything.
But wait a minute.
Be nice to live together.
Be nice to Sal.
Sal, you brought
all
up
be nice to each other.
Hey, Sal, you brought up my conduct. What exactly about my conduct is?
Let's not get too antagonistic.
Oh no, you brought up my conduct on my channel. I kind of want to know what conduct I've engaged in that's so offensive. Have I?
Let's all be friends, please. Let's all be friends.
Can we?
Okay,
you asked what I had to say. I said my piece. That's it.
Just
so we can talk science now.
What part of my conduct are you having a problem with?
Let it go, Speech. Let it go. Don't take it. Don't take it.
I don't know. I mean, do I have unpaid traffic tickets? Have I run over a raccoon?
Speed.
Doesn't
Let
matter.
it go.
Hey, it's
Let it go.
my
I
channel.
know it's your channel, but for the sake of the conversation, let it
Let
go.
Please,
Please,
let it go. Please.
Yeah, let it go, or Midnight will sing again.
Okay, go back to back to Taylor. Okay, so
go ahead.
Wants to ask her questions about this. Yeah, we thought it was extremely unhumble and unfair of you to discount so quickly this abiogenesis research and that conference that you pointed us to. Do you want to bring that up again, Nestleg, and point out what they were actually saying?
In my own journey, I did not discount it quickly. I had to learn a lot of biology to come to that conclusion that other, biologists also agree with.
So what part do you want to talk about? So Nestleg, could you bring up that phosphorus thing again? Basically,
I like you were talking about like how phosphorus would be available to for potentially for an abiogenesis process.
That was NASA who said that.
That was what?
That was NASA research.
NASA research?
Yes.
No, they were talking about arsenic, I think. NASA.
Yeah, and so there wasn't, according to NASA, there was not phosphorus available on the early Earth. It would have been bound up, and so they proposed that arsenic could have been the DNA backbone. They did some experiments, and some other scientists seriously debunked it. And, yeah.
Okay, can you look up that study, or don't you remember?
Yeah, the study on
looking it up.
arsenic in NASA was about exoplanets. They were talking about life on prebiotic Earth. Arsenic.
I don't know.
Okay, discovery of the arsenic bug
I-
expands definition of life.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too.
Right. So why would that need to be on another planet?
They were trying to expand the possibility of.
That's a different paper. Like this is a different paper. We're
Okay,
talking about two different researchers.
Taylor, can you look up the paper that you are talking about?
Yeah, can you find
maybe that will bring some clarity to it.
Um,
And this was from y'all recorded this from whenever I went on John's after show.
John Maddox's show. Did you say
Right,
John
right.
the Baptist?
Who?
Did you call him John the Baptist?
No, I said John's after show.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sure y'all would like me to mess up and say something on accident, but
Well, I messed up.
everybody's gonna mess up and say
Totally.
stuff. You shouldn't be attacking
I
people
was,
all the time.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree.
Agreed.
Like I was also saying to Speed, like I assume that you meant by there was no phosphorus on Earth. You were meaning to say that the phosphorus was locked up in the rock. But yeah. It's not saying that there was no phosphorus on Earth
Arsenic
at all.
life discovery debunked.
But yeah.
Okay, so how do I share on here?
There's a little share button at the bottom, share screen button. Well, all you have to do is link it, and I can bring it up.
Yeah, okay. So do you want me to post their actual NASA? This is on NASA.gov. Do you want me to post this one or where it was seriously debunked? Like they even NASA acknowledged that it was debunked.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna post, I guess,
Either or
first.
both.
I think I found the paper.
Okay.
I think, let me put it in the side chat, or the private chat. I think this is the paper that was done by the NASA postdoc on this. A bacterium that can grow by using arsenic instead of phosphorus. That's the title of the paper. It's in Science.
Okay. So
I believe that's what it's referring to.
Let me try to pull that up. Okay, I can grow using arsenic.
Like I was always suspecting. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
What is the controversy here? NASA was claiming that it was a possible different kind of biochemistry.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a phosphorus problem with abiogenesis, and so they were looking to kind of give an answer to that.
I think you're conflating those two things. Okay, those are two separate things. They weren't trying to solve the phosphorus problem because there was a lot of phosphorus on prebiotic Earth. 0.1%, basically 1 part per 1,000 or something of the Earth is made of phosphorus.
But was it bioavailable?
That depends on the environment. If you're looking at how much is available in the ocean, I guess that's a problem. That's where it gets locked up. Free phosphorus would get locked up in the ocean.
If I can explain what this paper in particular. What like I remember this controversy a few decades. Like how long was it ago? I think over 10 years ago, right? It's from 2010. Yes, it's like there was basically they discovered a bacterium that grow in Mono Lake, which is very very arsenic rich, and scientists. Or some scientists claimed that it replaced phosphorus with arsenic, but that had nothing to do with the arsenic problem. It was just like you were saying that this particular thing replaced arsenic with phosphorus, but that was disproven. It didn't replace phosphorus with arsenic. So
yeah.
So I think this paper in particular is just completely disconnected with the whole phosphorus issue of abiogenesis.
Oh my, what did I do? That?
Okay, I'm still trying to find the paper, like the actual research paper.
I put the link in the private chat, Taylor.
Okay.
I also put that in the description for anybody to look at later on.
Is it the actual research paper?
It's the actual research paper.
Okay.
Correct. By the postdoc that did the work that worked for NASA.
I think Taylor may be referring to like a NASA Gov website, right, or not? Like a NASA.gov website, I think.
Yeah.
No, because I actually wrote on this paper in undergrad. So I did a lot of research on it. I'm trying to I can't find my old paper.
Yeah. Okay. This is the original paper where they made the announcement that they had found this, and I think this is the one that they're pushing back on.
Well, let's be clear. Like, that's a blog post where they're mentioning the paper, the study, and the study that they reference is the link that I put, which is the science paper that was written by the postdoctoral fellow that works for NASA that did the actual research on this topic.
Okay. Okay, so you posted the original paper that made the claim?
I posted the original paper that made that this discovery of the arsenic bug expands the definition of life. It's citing that study, and that paper is that study. So I can
where was the debunk of this study? The place
where
just
probably it's very. I just passed it up in my search.
It was debunked. They couldn't this life form actually does use phosphorus. The original claim was that they replaced phosphorus with arsenic, but that wasn't the case. They just used phosphorus in the same way that we use phosphorus. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with abiogenesis and the
right exactly. I don't think this has anything to say about abiogenesis.
Right.
Or at least I cannot find in. Right.
So all the first like phosphate probably.
Anyways, we don't have to harp on this, guys. Like, I mean, it's just like food for thought on that topic. I think that what Taylor was talking about on that stream, it might just be something to think about, like that. So we don't have to debate it or anything.
No,
we can move on the phosphorus issue. Like, we were talking about phosphorus, like how would phosphorus be available life? And I actually found a paper where it says the process of serpentinization. Which gives rise to hydrothermal systems. The process of serpentinization actually releases phosphate in the form of in a soluble form. And I can link the paper in the private chat. Here it is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just 1 second. It took me just 2 minutes in the PubMed to see very clearly a paper from John Sutherland about the phosphorus and early Earth. So let's share it.
Okay.
Can I share?
I have to. I'm sorry. I have to clarify. I just see that this paper is a preprint. So yeah, it has to be taken with a grain of salt. Yes, because it's a preprint.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's share this paper.
I actually find the conversation about like the God hypothesis related to whether shooting holes in scientific evidence proves God is a more interesting topic. We don't have to talk about it, but I find that to be interesting.
No, that's fine. I'm cinnamon toast sick, so I only have a little bit of bandwidth. So please, somebody else talk.
I mean if I could say that like this respectfully, Taylor, this issue of whether you want to consider there being working hypotheses for abiogenesis or not, either way, we could even make the assumption that there aren't. Like, I'm sure you would agree that that's not evidence for a God. That's just saying that it's unexplained about the formations of life. I'm sure you would agree with that, right?
I mean, for me, it was enough evidence.
Okay.
I think.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, please go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
I just think, for me, it's enough evidence. Because then, what is the explanation?
Okay, I'll put it in the
Well, but let's, just respectfully. So if we say you think that the fact that there is lack of evidence for the origins of life is evidence for God, to me doesn't seem reasonable, because the lack of
you're so awesome.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll stop. Go ahead.
If you ever studied biology and came to the conclusion that a cell could not have formed on its own, then what would you think?
Okay, Taylor.
If you ever
Taylor.
came to the conclusion
Right.
through science that the cell
Right.
could not have formed itself.
Okay,
Taylor.
so
What-
can I respond? Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know who else was talking. No, yeah.
Dimiter wants a chance right after you talk.
Okay. What I would say is when you make the statement that through research you've discovered that the cell cannot be, what was it, created on its own? Is that what you said? Or yeah. Then there would have to be research that would show that that's an impossibility. And typically, science doesn't work in impossibilities. We would say it's an unknown. We don't understand how, like I'm hypothesizing or just making a general claim.
Would you say that there are impossibilities in science that we found? Okay, like we've
I think
learned a lot.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say that there are impossibilities?
I would say that there are, in very limited cases, there are impossibilities, like in physics. But I'm imagining that many physicists on those particular topics wouldn't use the word impossible. They would say it's highly uncertain. They wouldn't say something is impossible. They would say it's highly unlikely.
Like no working theory or something.
Okay. So you could even say you could even say, and I don't agree with this, but like I was saying before, you could say, let's just say there's no working theory for abiogenesis. Okay. I don't agree with that, but even if that was the case,
so then what is the working theory?
Wait a second,
you don't agree with that. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll go back to that. Continue.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to this point because we could say we could talk about like what is the theory, but what I'm saying is that if you didn't have a theory, and if I was unable to make a statement as to what that theory was that's reasonable, that statement is not provide any evidence or doesn't provide any explanatory power for another theory. It's just saying it's an unknown. So to say we just don't know something doesn't say that thus it's God. I just don't see the logic in that conception. So, and that's just me. And you could say, look, you have faith that you believe in God, and I understand that view. You could say, I just think it within my heart. I feel that I have this belief in God. I totally acknowledge that. I just don't think that is the same as saying we have actual evidence for the existence of God.
Right. And so the first debate I went in, I asked them to change the title from evidence to suggests, because I never I don't know. I think it points to there being God, like an intervention.
Yeah, I'll let Dimiter talk.
Because on the same point, you can't prove to me that God doesn't exist, so we can just go back and forth that all day.
Well, but once again, I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying I don't know. I'm like I don't think that God
exists. As an atheist, isn't that well, aren't you claiming that God doesn't exist?
There are varying degrees of atheism, and I take the particular stance that I don't see sufficient evidence to suggest that God exists. Therefore, I don't believe that God exists. But that doesn't mean that I'm saying with absolute 100% certainty, because there's no way of proving God's existence or non-existence. The hypothesis has no explanatory power in that respect.
Do you believe in supernatural at all? Like, do you believe in ghosts or anything like that?
I don't think that I'm a naturalist. I believe in methodological naturalism. So I don't think that we have a methodology for evaluating supernatural things. And if we did...
So do you believe in it or not?
Well, I don't think that there's a way to know what is supernatural because we don't have a way to test it.
Okay, I just asked a simple question if you believe in ghosts or not. It's kind of...
Yeah, I don't believe in any of that.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, okay, if you want to say, do I think that ghosts exist? No, until such a time as we have a methodology to evaluate.
What if you saw a ghost? Would you think it existed, or would you question your own? I've talked to atheists.
No, I don't.
You wouldn't know if you physically saw.
Yeah.
Something supernatural.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it was supernatural. Well, I wouldn't think it was supernatural. I would think it has a natural cause because that's the most reasonable.
Like if you saw like a ghost, or.
Well, you're saying because if I saw, well, why don't we say I saw something that I thought was a ghost? because
Okay.
you don't know it's a ghost.
But what
If
if
I
it was
had a
on
ghost-
camera? What if it was recorded?
Well, we have lots of these
Not
situations
recorded.
where people record what they think are ghosts, and that we have naturalistic explanations for those
What's the
things.
explanation for
What-
somebody
for-
levitating, for example?
that they could be faking it in some respects.
Okay, what if you
that,
saw it with your own 2 eyes?
Have you ever seen David Blaine?
Okay,
Like,
what would you
I was about to say. I was
David
about to bring
Blaine?
up David
what would
Blaine.
you
Yeah.
think if you saw it
Well, listen, people's
and
visual,
it was on camera and
we
there was
know
other
for-
witnesses? What would you think?
we know. I would
Okay,
not think that it was levitating because
Okay.
I don't have any
If you
evidence. to
literally were
suggest-
there, you wouldn't think so?
Nope,
I-
I wouldn't. No,
Can I say
And
something?
it was on
really?
camera.
no, I wouldn't.
Right.
You want to
You
know
would
why?
just say, I did not see that.
I would say that that's an unexplained phenomena that likely has a naturalistic explanation,
Yeah.
but I don't
Can I-
know
Exactly.
how.
Can I
wouldn't-
bring
I
up a funny?
wouldn't jump
can
to ghosts because we have no evidence that ghosts
Okay.
exist.
I want to
Okay.
bring a
That's
I want to bring up a
kind of
funny
ridiculous.
related story. Like there was like a police officer who saw something in the sky, and he was like chasing it with his car, and it followed him. And later it turns out he was looking at the planet Venus, and he thought it was a UFO.
I mean it's funny, but it's an honest mistake.
Taylor, if I saw a ghost in my room and I could interact with it, like my mother or something like that, and I've had hallucinations, so I understand what an eidetic experience is compared to hallucination, that would change my worldview considerably. So that
Really?
would do it right there. Yes.
I mean, it may not be. God damn it! It may not necessarily be a ghost. The way we think about it, right? Like for all you know, if we're going crazy with this, it could be, it could be universes shifting or something. I don't know.
Taylor, sometimes people make this thought experiment that says, if I was looked up into the sky and suddenly the stars align themselves to spell out Jesus is your Lord and Savior, would you believe in God? And I wouldn't believe in God.
I've given
if I
you
saw that.
instances in which I would take another perspective. My example was if we have a naturalistic explanation for things.
Right?
But I'm asking you, if you physically see a ghost or something supernatural that you can't explain, that
Right.
many people experience. Okay, I know that there's psychological problems with people and stuff like that. But if you physically saw it, the
Yeah.
thing, my question is, if you were physically there viewing it, you still
Right.
wouldn't believe it.
No.
No. If
And
okay,
no.
so if God came face to
I
face,
kind of had
No.
that feeling when I saw Sal here.
I'm answering the question.
when I-
I'm answering the question.
When I saw
What
Sal
would make
here,
you
I had that
nothing would make you
feeling.
believe in God then?
What? But
Oh,
I was seeing a ghost.
I think I can also bring another example. Like many people have also experienced alien abduction. They believe they have been
Okay, I'm not
abducted
talking
by
about
aliens,
aliens.
But it's the same
Right,
concept,
right.
though.
But it's the same reasoning we reject that too. Like people can have weird experiences about ghosts or aliens.
Okay, I'm not a big aliens fan, but
that's the
Oh,
same
right, exactly.
concept, though, because people have these experiences.
so you
that
told
they-
me if God came and saw you face to face, then you would not. believe he
You're
exists.
making okay, but let's
That's
phrase
that's
this correctly.
extraordinary.
Well, let's phrase this correctly.
That really
That-
is.
Wait. Let's phrase this correctly, because what you're saying is, if God, first of all, we're saying if something came to me that I thought was God and spoke to me, would I believe in God? And I would say, based on my reasoning right now, I would say no, because there are many. I could be hallucinating.
And there was witnesses, and it was on camera.
Wait a minute, there are mass hallucinations.
Wow.
Things
Yes.
happen things occur
And it
that
was
people
recorded.
attribute as supernatural that aren't supernatural. We
And it
have
was
no
on camera.
evidence. We have no, just because it's on camera, there are lots of things that happen on camera that people think are supernatural.
There are
that aren't.
UFOs on camera.
I just think that
Proof is there.
I just want you to think about this, Taylor.
That's a
that-
far stretch than just believing in God.
well, as
Like,
a
oh,
scientist,
the camera's lying, the people are lying,
Wait a
I'm
minute.
lying. Like,
as a
that's crazy.
scientist, don't you want to reach, you want to know true things, right?
Yeah.
You want to know truly, and to immediately say, I saw something, and so I'm going to make the assumption that is this thing of which we have no evidence for. doesn't seem to be something that you would approach from a scientific manner. You should just say, that was a really crazy thing that just happened to me, and we need to explore that. But I don't know what just happened. That was really messed up.
Taylor,
I think we can also. I think we can also. Ask. Oh, sorry.
Hold on. We have a
I'll
question.
be quiet.
If you saw an
Yeah.
alien, Taylor, and got abducted, would you believe it was aliens?
Yes, I would believe. Yes, I would believe they exist if I saw one. But y'all are radical in saying that you can even see it and still not believe it. That just shows that you don't even want to
Well,
believe it.
Taylor,
no,
that's-
hold
that
on.
is not what I
There's a
said.
difference.
It's not even like I need evidence.
There is
So
a
you're saying
difference
with
between
insufficient
being
evidence that you don't believe because you don't believe there's sufficient evidence. But if you saw God and it was recorded and with witnesses, and you're saying that's still not sufficient evidence, so you just don't want to believe in God.
Taylor, there's a difference between being abducted by an alien, which exists in physical reality, and God, right? Like
I said that I would believe if I
some
saw.
guy. Right, but what I'm saying, somebody came down and said, oh, they were God, and I don't know, fucking, they proved it by, by doing, or by doing earthquakes all over the planet. Yeah, that would be kind of strange, but at the same time, it could also just be a super advanced alien. Have you never seen Star Trek?
No,
That Star Trek.
sorry, I haven't seen Star Trek. I've heard it's good.
There are
Fine.
Star Trek. No, sorry. Star
But
Trek: The Next Generation, plays with this idea in one or two episodes. Basically,
But
the
you-
episode Devils do. But go
You
ahead,
would-
Jason.
All right, you would agree that people do have experiences that they think are ghosts
I
or
agree.
God or supernatural, and they are not.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So
Just
there's
one
some. Okay, so in your situation, there are some situations that people experience that what they think are ghosts and God, and that's not. And then there are situations that people experience where they experience ghosts or God, and it actually is a ghost and it actually is God. Correct? There are those situations.
I think that if it was recorded on camera and I felt it and had witnesses, then I would say, yeah, that probably exists. That probably happened.
Well,
I'm not going to
saying
keep
that.
refuting if I see it.
Well, I'm not saying that
and
it
others
didn't
see it.
happen. I'm just saying that like something could have happened to you. I'm saying like if you experienced a ghost or God and it was on video and there were multiple people there and you were not drunk or under the influence of something, you could all those things, then you would say, yes, that's a ghost, or yes, that was God.
I've actually
Those
came to believe in God through science, as I have explained. But
Well,
you
I'm
were
just
saying that you can literally see God and still not believe in him.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to repeat again. When you say you literally see God, literally see some thing that you think is God.
Yeah,
And
what does God look like?
You're making the assumption that is
I'm
God.
just saying anything can happen and you would not believe. What would make you believe in God?
Well,
Why
first
should-
of all,
well,
if God is something that can be evaluated through naturalistic processes, and we can use science or the methodological naturalism approaches to evaluate and say that's God, okay. I mean, my understanding is definitionally that's not possible based on God, but maybe if you're some other type of theist,
So nothing would make you believe in God.
Well, but
not a supernatural God.
I have a
Then what
question.
kind of God?
Well, if God was a part of the naturalistic world and I can use a methodology
is.
that I know, okay, so you're saying God's not supernatural, God's natural.
I mean, God is everywhere in everything because He created the universe.
I don't know.
He's everywhere and everything. He's you. Congratulations, you are God.
Do you believe in a Trinitarian view of God? Are you a Christian?
I don't have any denominations. I think that's really toxic. I just,
well,
I'm not a big,
Okay, I do have a question.
All right, go ahead, Midnight. Go ahead.
You know what? Forget it, Jason. You go.
I'm sorry, Midnight. No, please. I'll shut
no,
up.
I know. I had a question. I don't know whether it's important or not, but why?
And
is
I want
it
to hear you all
important-
out too. Yeah, continue.
Why is it important that we believe in God? Holy shit!
Yeah. Okay, you got it out.
Why is it? I didn't say that it was important you believe in God. I'm saying based on all the evidence we have, I think it points to there being a God, based on how the universe come about, how did life come about. I'm just saying that that's the observation and the conclusion that I made. I'm not saying, I mean, in terms of theology, it's probably important for you to believe in God if you want to do this or that, but I'm not here to, tell you what you're going to, what the consequences are of not believing in God.
So Taylor, I'm happy that you have, or you just said something about having a non-dogmatic belief and faith in God, and that you don't pick any particular denomination. I just wish you would let the evolution creationism part go as well, and accept that God could have done it that way. That God could have done it with the Big Bang. He could have done it through natural means just as well as. I mean, if you let all of the dogma of Christianity go, you end up with this faith that can work for a person in their lives. But when you end up fighting over dogma, like the Superman guy SFT, who's fighting about what is it, the Trinity and all that garbage. I mean, these guys are having all these fights. I think that's getting a little far away from faith when you have to fight for a particular belief system, right? And that's kind of why I would like young Earth creationists to let it go.
Hey, for $30, Grush Dreams wants to ask Taylor, what do you think happens to people who don't believe in God after
Am
they
I going to
die?
get the $30?
We can talk about that after the.
Not from me.
Okay, what?
So, guys, because I want to go and I have my own work to do, it seems that Taylor, first of all, she's colleague scientist, young scientist, and probably she will be reasonable in discussion. I would like to meet her eventually sometime.
Yeah, I can set up
Mike,
something.
if you want to set up a meeting.
Taylor, if you would put your
Taylor,
email in my private chat, I can set that up between you and Dimiter.
I think with Taylor we can discuss about abiogenesis. With Sal is lost for science anyway, so I don't think he's capable of understanding anything. So,
Sal,
I lost any hope for Sal. He's completely out of any reason.
I want to say one thing that, like, you know what, Sal, I like you, Sal. I want to come around. Like, Sal and I have kind of like, I haven't had actually good interactions. But
as a person, I don't think he's a bad guy. He's a wonderful guy.
I like listening to Sal's content. Go to Sal's his YouTube and his evidence and reason.
So that's what I want to say. So I would like to meet Taylor eventually.
I would like to meet you too.
Probably she already read my 3 papers so far published on abiogenesis. If not, Mike will give it to you.
Yeah. Yep, I can give you the papers.
And that's it. I need to go, so we can discuss sometime with Taylor. Taylor, you agree or not?
I think she said yes.
Wait, I'll discuss. I love hearing everybody's perspective, really.
So, Dimiter, since you have to go, I won't insist, but when are you going to show us your parrot again?
Yeah.
Oh, parrot?
Oh, yeah.
You
got a parrot. Bye, Dimiter.
Oh, you have a little dinosaur. Please show your dinosaur. There he is. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Dinosaur.
I had a cockatoo, and it was just so loud. I couldn't deal.
Yeah, he's never leaving
dinosaur on your shoulder.
So he's constantly stuck with me. Okay, so I'm working in molecular biology and science, and the moment I'm working stem cell research. But
nice.
Also, I have published 3 papers on abiogenesis. So you need to understand a lot of things before you were even to say something about abiogenesis.
Well, please teach me. I would be happy.
Something that I hope you could understand. Sal will not understand it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, come on, be nice to Sal. He's right here.
Be nice.
Shit talk him when he's not here.
Uh,
I'll
Sal-
have you know. I'll have you know,
Sal,
Sal is the number one, the voted number one
he's,
creation
he's,
tool online.
Yeah,
the
how did
problem
that
with Sal is
I don't get it.
that
But
he
anyway,
just
go ahead.
the Sal is twisting the models we're using in the
I would love
evolution
to hear your
protocol.
model. You said you
Oh,
did
sure.
research on it?
I have published 3 papers on.
I might have read one. Yes, and no, I'm happy to learn anything. Like I said, I'm on a quest for knowledge and understanding. So
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to any belief or paper or any information.
I will try to send you all 3 papers, Taylor. I think there are 3 so far. So
Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys. Enjoy. And
Yeah,
I will
Dimiter
leave
was a
one
joy.
spot.
Thank you.
I will
So-
leave one spot for Rebecca, probably.
Later, Dimiter.
Bye.
Okay.
So,
Bye.
Sal Cordova, I would like to say that you are one of the few people on the inner tubes that gives me interesting molecular biology to dig my teeth into. So I appreciate that from you. Even though you're totally wrong about everything, you are the only one that comes up with real challenging hypotheses that I found, and I've missed you.
He's your rival.
Yeah, and you are my rival. Yeah, you're my arch enemy. So anyway.
Okay, I have a quick question.
On the heels of Dimiter's dig, I wanted to throw that out.
I just wanted to say, Speed, because you let me in, I want to reciprocate. You can come to my channel and we can talk once.
Okay, thank you.
Just once?
You were that was
Once.
pretty gracious of you to let me in, just because I didn't want to see Taylor outnumbered, although I think she can defend herself quite well. I just didn't like she can defend herself quite well. She doesn't need me, but thank you for letting me at least join to offer some moral support.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing it's a good thing she didn't need. It's a good It's a good thing she didn't need you, because I don't even see what you did, Sal. So,
but
I mean,
if you wanna have an exchange over abiogenesis, you're welcome on my channel, Speed of Sound.
Or we'll have a talk about one of the proteins that you bring up, or zinc fingers would be a good one. That would.
Oh,
be
I love zinc fingers. I know
Those are
nothing
so
about
good
them,
with
but I
gravy.
love
You
zinc
could talk
fingers.
zinc fingers, topoisomerases, transmembrane proteins, translocation processes, transmembrane
I just like how they sound.
issues
Zinc fingers.
in eukaryotic components, chromatin evolution,
Sure.
spliceosomal introns.
Yeah, that would be that one I have not dug into yet, so that would challenge me. But yeah, the rest of them, yes, we will talk. We'll pick something.
I also have put a link
Hey,
for
Rebecca.
Taylor. I put a link to Dimiter's research in the private chat.
Oh, does it
You
have
got
all of
some
his
Dimiter's
papers?
paper. I
It
think
has
so. Yeah,
all the-
it's a research gate link.
Okay, good. I'll post that in the description as well on this video. So, okay.
I have a
well,
quick
so
general question.
that one last link, it has all the papers.
Yeah, it's a research page which shows all the papers that he has.
So I was
General
thinking
question.
about just Sal was telling me about how people are really gonna obviously try to attack me, and I don't see why. I think we're just exchanging ideas. I think everybody should be able to. And I was thinking about because I'm not familiar with YouTube. I haven't been on YouTube much at all, and so
You're way too
if people
confident.
really want to, but if people really want to attack you, I'm just
Let her finish.
I don't know, I don't want to fight. I don't want to people attacking me and stuff. So I was like, do I even want to come back on?
Like it's
Did
kind
you
of
feel
it's,
attacked by? Oh, did you feel attacked by me or anyone else here?
No, I'm talking about people that
right.
want to come after you in your personal life and stuff like that. I'm not ashamed.
The internet is a nasty place. Yeah, the internet is a really nasty place.
That's weird. I didn't know YouTube was like that.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It's a very hateful place.
We do not typically do that on this channel. I mean, if you aren't here, we'll just unleash on you, and then we get pretty nasty. But if you come on here and we're talking to you, you're going to be treated well.
But like
Yeah.
death threats and
Well,
stuff, like
No,
I don't know.
no.
Has that happened?
Whoa.
Has that happened to you,
I
Taylor?
mean, people like.
I mean,
Yeah,
I know it
women
can
tend
happen.
to get a lot
I
of death
mean,
threats
I
if
mean,
they
I mean,
show
I mean,
any
look,
confidence at all.
no,
I
that's not
always-
what I
I
mean.
always-
I mean going after your ideas. We will go after your ideas.
No, anybody can go after and challenge any of my ideas, but my personal life, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like I can tell you, like
I was considering like never getting back on YouTube.
there's a person that I won't mention online that everybody here knows that like I don't want to mention their name.
Oh my God!
No, I know, but go ahead.
They emailed me like because Jason Torn's not my real name, and so I try to.
No, it
like,
is. Your name is Jason. Own it.
Keep my identity somewhat anonymous because I don't want people like calling my institution and harassing me and harassing my family. And so I had somebody like email me and like be like, oh, mention my wife and my daughter and my dog and all this stuff. Like that stuff is unacceptable. That's like borderline like illegal, So
well, Jason Ezzard was sending out death threats to me and Immutable, and then he started sending them to Standing for Truth.
It's
and
unacceptable.
He just spread it. And he's still on those channels. I can't believe that they let him back on.
As much as like we may disagree, I love everybody, and I don't want anybody to have any pain or suffering or I don't want wish any bad ill on anybody.
Somebody sent me a video of my debate opponent that I'm going to be debating tomorrow. Probably my last time on YouTube.
Oh, T-Jump.
Yes, and they were sending me a video of like T-Jump's biggest blunders or something. I was like, this is really disgusting. I'm not even going to watch this. This is like inhumane. I just can't. I don't understand why people are just, I don't know. I just can't do it.
Tom's gonna bring up. I'll tell you what Tom's gonna bring up. He's gonna talk about I think therefore I am, the cogito ergo sum. He'll bring up like the difference between imagination and reality. Like he's I don't want to say a philosopher wannabe, but I mean he doesn't have a degree in philosophy, but he studied a lot of philosophy. So he will likely address your positions from a philosophical standpoint, just so you know.
And I think he's a brilliant debater. So I think he's really good at.
I mean, now, okay, but hold on, Taylor. Which video you found inhumane or something?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
They sent me T-Jump's biggest blunders. Somebody sent me that, and I said I'm not even watching it because that's disgusting.
I mean, what's wrong? I mean,
what's wrong with it is that you're totally attacking somebody, and I don't believe anybody. I don't think anybody.
No, it's not attacking. It's not attacking the person
just
themselves.
Like why?
It's saying their blunders in logic, blunders in argument.
Well, you can do blunders for all of your logics, all video blunders. Like,
I don't know. Maybe there's something in the video that makes it. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know. I might do Taylor's greatest blunders.
Well, you can. I think it's okay to point out mistakes. I think it's okay to point out mistakes. So I don't have a really problem with the title of the biggest blunders, but if the content of the video is like attacking T-Jump or something, whoever it is, it's of course bad. Yes.
Well,
it depends on what the video.
I don't approve of just posting something out of context, like one little conversation or snippet of a conversation, and then not digging into the context and not digging into it. But I mean, I would attack you viciously on some idea and post something that you said, but I wouldn't just like post it out of context. I mean, we would dig into it.
I do want to say something that before somebody mentioned death threats, like. I don't know, man. I always take claims like that with a grain of salt, because I'm a certain person we know.
Not these days. These days,
I've never received death threats, at least publicly.
I don't know. You never know.
I'm gonna tell you,
like people like looking for you. Where do you live? Like stuff like that.
Maybe it's because
I'm a girl.
I mean, I've been that doesn't.
No,
I mean, I've been doxxed before. I've been doxxed before twice.
I think it also like there's some men. like some men on the internet are getting really insecure when they meet a smarter girl.
Yeah, and there are a lot of pigs too out there. Just ignore them. Just blow them off.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, the argument that I was making with you, I don't want to discuss it. We don't have to talk about it. But that argument about evidence, not lack of evidence, not supporting for God, like T-Jump will go for the jugular on that one. I'm just going to tell you, if you bring up this issue of saying, I don't think that the abiogenesis has got any validity, therefore I think that proof for God, he will go after that. So I'm just going to let you know, like, be prepared to respond in some way to that. Because Tom will bring it up.
Right.
So, anyways, I'm just saying.
Yeah, Tom is going to be a tough debate for you. I can guarantee it. So just don't get upset.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't get rattled.
Tom's a very interesting person. He lives in Minneapolis here, right? Not far from me. I've met him, and we went out to Austin together. And he's a really good guy. But he's very serious about his debate stuff. So
maybe some people might say he's too serious.
He's pretty serious when he debates. Don't let it get under your skin.
He will throw out a bunch of, like, guaranteed. He's going to say, you'll say something. He'll go, that's a fallacy. That's fallacy of ignorance. That's abductio ad absurdum.
Well, Taylor does that.
I'm just saying, when he says those things, you could be like, I don't really care about these philosophical fallacies. You could say that. I mean, but he will do that.
Well, you can brush up on my fallacies and my philosophy.
So he will do that. So don't be intimidated. Just get cool. The more animated he gets, just the calmer you get. Just be cool about it.
Or just ask him to explain the fallacy. Like, if he can't explain the fallacy, then he doesn't know what he's talking about. So yeah.
Yeah.
So what is well, first of all, do y'all ever get attacked by theists, like people attacking you, trying to dox you, whatever?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I had
I just said I got to dox twice. The second time by so-called friends.
You can if it happens on YouTube, you can file a complaint on YouTube for a user.
That'll do you.
So if anybody does that to you on YouTube, you report it to YouTube.
Atheism is the new cool thing. Like, I think it's, theists are obviously the ones getting attacked more.
I think it cuts.
And why is there atheists on, like? What do you think? Y'all don't agree that theists get attacked more?
I've been attacked by some pretty serious dudes on YouTube, and they said some really nasty things. It was when I first started out, and I almost quit that night. I mean, it was really.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna quit. I think I'm gonna stay off of YouTube. I'm pretty busy anyway. I'm like making time for this, but
I understand.
Somebody was doxing Scott Duke in the chat earlier.
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What were they doing? I didn't notice.
They said your real name, Santa.
Oh.
You almost had me scared there for a second, John.
There we go.
What the fuck?
Well, guys, should we shoot?
I thought you were President Snow from the Hunger Games.
Oh,
well,
he's much slimmer than I.
As much as I disagree with you on topics, Taylor, you seem like you're a very nice person, and I don't think anybody. If anybody does any bad things like doxing or stuff to you, you need to report that stuff, and none of us condone that kind of thing. So
I've heard many atheists.
I wish we were at a cafe.
Like, that I'm really
Rebecca's
reasonable.
here.
Oh my God! I don't like
all the chairs.
Hey!
I don't like
Hey,
the odds.
girlfriend.
Okay, I don't like the odds anymore. I'm gonna have to boot some Christian.
Yeah, I think after this morning, you're a little nervous about me, right?
Oh, you frustrated.
Wait, what happened this morning?
Speed came on my channel this morning on Examining Evolution.
Yeah, we're gonna. Oh, okay. I asked you. I don't know if you emailed me back. Can I premiere that thing?
Yeah, I said you could. Yeah, go for it.
Or we might review it. I don't know. We might do a review of it.
Go for it. That would be fun.
Boy, you just kept wrapping me around the axle. I mean, and it's really easy to do with me. So anyway,
Yeah, you
So
had him
whose
so rattled.
username is atheism? I'm not looking at the chat, but whose atheism answers are answers
Oh,
in
I'm
It's
atheism?
an atheism. It's this fine gentleman over here called Speed of
Okay,
Sound.
is he here?
what's that?
Is he
Yeah.
here?
Oh,
Answers
yeah.
in atheism
I
is speed
am.
of sound.
Yeah, I am
Let me go
Answers
back
in
to-
Atheism. Basically, this is my channel, but I go by the name Speed of
Okay,
Sound
yeah.
for years and years.
So
Trust
what
me,
what
it gets
answers do you think
confusing.
atheism gives?
What,
I was gonna ask you
okay, do you want to know?
that.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
Honestly, I want to know.
Finally,
Okay.
somebody asked the question. Everyone was
That's
thinking
a good
about.
question. That's a good
If you
question.
fully embrace pure naturalism, right? You understand what you are as an organism. There are many answers for life, for the questions of life and death, grief, loss, all of that, in basically a clear understanding of what you are and what your life is. And it relates to, I'm also a secular Buddhist, and it relates to secular Buddhism. And you can get there with pure naturalism. And the Answers in Atheism was meant to be a pun. Somebody suggested it as a play on Answers in Genesis, but the channel name does mean something to me, because I do try to portray that non-dogmatic spirituality and faith, right, as part of what I believe, what I practice in my life, and what I recommend for everybody. So those are my answers in atheism. It's complicated.
So what
but
is
if you
atheism
extend-
answer? What
Slow clap.
Basically, atheism is kind of like a trivial part of all that. Basically, it's naturalism. I'm a pure naturalist. Okay, I believe everything is natural, like right back.
But why did you pick the name Answers in Naturalism?
Because Answers in Atheism had a better ring to it.
It's
I
more
guess.
alliterative.
Marketing, dude.
Marketing.
I don't know. Not that I'm doing so well, but anyway, I seriously believe that this idea of a non-dogmatic spirituality and faith is something that you can get to by pure naturalism, and that gets into a lot of philosophy, a lot of weeds, a lot of theory of mind, and things like that. And I hope to do a little more of that someday on this channel. But that's
So you mean the answer of like it answers the question of like
you are. Like what you are,
Wait, what?
and what it means for you to be alive.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like a Buddhist.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're not an atheist.
Well, no, I am an atheist. I don't believe in any kind of supernatural or gods.
It's like there
Well, then
are
what about
some Buddhists. There are
reincarnation?
some Buddhists.
Reincarnation
Secular.
is supernatural, though.
Okay, secular Buddhist, and secular Buddhists do not believe in Hollywood Buddhism, which believes in reincarnation and all of that garbage.
So then, if you don't believe in
Reincarnation.
reincarnation, then what in Buddhism do you believe?
Okay, reincarnation has an entirely different meaning in Zen Buddhism. Reincarnation is basically, and karma too. It's breaking out of the karmic cycle of your past patterns in your life. Like if you're not old enough, but when you're as old as me and Cell, you may find that you've been dating the same girl over and over and over again with the same result. And when that happens, you can break out of your own patterns or the patterns of your own life, and you are reborn into a new life, basically. So you break the karmic cycle and you're reborn. But that
So do
happens
you believe we have a soul?
within your lifetime. What's that?
Do you believe we have a soul?
No, not at all. I believe
So
that
what's
the mind
carrying
is-
out this karma? What energy field is carrying out karma?
Karma has a different meaning than it does in Hollywood Buddhism. Karma means cycle. Okay, it means a pattern or a cycle that you keep going through. Like if you keep making the same mistake over and over, like you keep trying to go on a diet and you keep eating 4 pieces of cinnamon toast like I just did, that's basically karma. You have these patterns, these habits in your life that
What about good karma?
when you get a little, there's good karma. When you get a little older, karma starts to make a little more sense, and it's deeper than that, because you have there is a karmic influence of the family, of the history that you came from, and you can if that stuff is good, then you embrace it. But if it's bad, you should break out of that karmic cycle and become something new. That sort of thing. And
Is there something carrying out this karma?
Hey, Taylor. Speed sounds an awful lot like a theist right now, doesn't he?
I always do.
I mean, kinda, you know, because I'm like, what's carrying this? Because, you know, if you believe in karma, then you believe that there's some other properties responsible, you know, this cycle. You know, that didn't happen. How do you see this cycle in a naturalistic perspective?
You can look at it just psychologically. I mean, we have habits and patterns that we get into in our lives, and sometimes our families create patterns for us that we can't break out of. You know, the pattern of abuse that goes down from generation to generation. Okay, that's a karmic cycle.
That's not like Buddhist, though. You know, that's not really like a Buddhist.
Well, actually, it's not like the Buddhism you've heard about in the United States, because I call that Hollywood Buddhism. There's a whole lot of literature on Buddhism that most people are probably not aware of. And that literature is more about how to live, how to be in the universe, basically how to operate as an organism in the universe. And there's nothing supernatural about it. Zen Buddhism is completely naturalistic. There's nothing supernatural about Zen Buddhism at all. And I lean toward the Zen end of things. It's a way of life rather than a way to live. And actually, isn't Christianity a way of life too? I mean, wouldn't you say it was a way of life, you three Christians?
That's the buzzword I used to hear.
I mean, I didn't. Way of life.
I mean, it's a way to live.
Yeah, I believe that you should love your neighbor yourself. So yeah, maybe Christianity is a way of life.
Taylor, do you have a literal interpretation of the Bible? Do you believe the Bible is literal, or do you believe that there's metaphorical aspects to the Bible?
Well, reality is stranger than fiction, even in a scientific perspective. So I don't discount there. I don't. It is the truth.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. So like nature in itself and in reality, even in a naturalistic perspective. Okay, if you start learning about physics and the Big Bang, and you know, so that is crazy in itself. So I wouldn't discount, you know, something as being unrealistic, because look, the universe came from nothing apparently. You know, so if you believe that, then you're willing to believe some crazy stuff.
Like Speed was mentioning about the age of the Earth, but like was the Earth created in 7 days? Was there a global flood? That kind of stuff.
I don't know where I heard that the time is different in the Bible or something, but you know, who knows? We don't have an answer to how the universe got here. So I mean, if that's an answer, then it's an answer.
I think you could make that argument. You could say, look, that when the Bible mentions that the Earth was created in 7 days, that this is like metaphorical, or God's time is different, and then in reality this was hundreds of millions or billions of years, but from God's perspective it's viewed as a day. Okay, I think that's not an unreasonable way of interpreting it. If somebody wants to interpret it that way, that's fine. But if somebody's like, no, it was 7 days, then that seems to be contrary to how we understand how the world and the universe works.
So speaking of which, do y'all believe the Big Bang? How do y'all think that the Big Bang happened?
So yeah, that leads me to something. Jason, we had a conversation last night about veganism.
Yes.
We should have another private hangout on that.
Yeah, I love the veganism. I love the ethical veganism topic.
And I don't know if you saw the example that I put in the chat, but it relates to what Taylor just asked. We do not have, just like I believe that animals, like other animals, cannot understand their own death. I don't believe that humans can understand things like we always want to say before the Big Bang, or where the universe came from, or how it started, or we want to say outside the universe. And none of those things in physics make any sense. And we don't have the cognitive capability to understand that stuff. The only way we're going to understand it is to create new mathematics that basically explains that. And that's where unification will come from.
So what do you think caused the Big Bang?
Caused?
Yeah.
Did you say cause the Big Bang? Okay, that's what I mean. There were no.
Okay, what made the Big
None
Bang?
of those things would make any sense. Okay, causing, started, came before, outside the universe. None of those things.
A black hole from an alternate universe. There you go.
Okay, there is something in the universe.
Yeah. So we can talk about that in a second, but you
I
know that
actually-
there was a bang, right? Or do you believe
Well, it's not. The
No,
term
an
Big Bang is somewhat. Yeah, it's an expansion. It's,
Okay, well, the beginning of the universe.
Okay, but
Was
was there
there-
a beginning? Okay,
The
how
beginning
could
of expansion.
but the
Okay.
implication beginning implies like a
space time?
temporal.
Scientists agree that there is a beginning to this
Well,
universe.
well,
No,
but
they don't.
most scientists
Yes, they
acknowledge
do.
that
With the background radiation, we can see
wait a
that the Big Bang happens.
Wait a minute. Most scientists have an understanding that our thoughts around time and how time worked before, like Planck time aspects, were different. Even Einstein acknowledged that like the laws of physics likely operated differently at the infinite time, right at the very beginning of the
They had to
singularity.
because at the Big Bang it should have the matter should have eliminated itself at the Big Bang, and theoretically with all that mass in one spot it should have came back down. So that's another problem. Like they're trying to figure out with the Big Bang.
I mean,
So the mathematics had to be different, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's agreed. And I'm not even making a claim that, I mean, there are lots of good theories around like the origins of the universe. And we obviously don't have a full understanding of that. We may never have a full understanding of that given the situation. But again, not understanding is not saying that it was a disembodied mind that did it.
I mean, we're talking about the universe coming from. Well, that's why I was asking what y'all believe happens. How do you believe that? Because what about atheism? Answers in atheism. What's your answer for the Big Bang? Does atheism provide any?
We don't know.
Naturalistic mechanism.
Okay,
So
the
there's no
mathematics.
answers in atheism for the Big Bang.
The mathematics basically for whatever is and we don't even have a word to ask the right question yet, because we can't say cause the universe, we can't say outside the universe, we can't say before the universe, because all of those things are within this concept
in
of
that
the
same
universe.
thing, you can't say, well, what is God? You know, how did God create the cell? That's the same argument.
So then we have like two competing purported hypotheses, a God hypothesis and a naturalistic hypothesis. In some situations, like with the Big Bang, the inflation theory, etc., that the question is which one of these hypotheses are
What is the naturalistic hypothesis? What is the naturalistic hypothesis?
Well, like there's an inflation theory hypothesis. There's a.
I mean, that's not like an answer to the question.
What do you mean?
That's all we have.
The inflation theory hypothesis, like the Big Bang. Okay, what caused inflation?
What caused it?
Okay. And I don't know if we have a. I mean, I think there might be some working hypotheses on why they think that it occurred, but we can't be sure of that. So I would agree with you. There's a lot of unknowns on those topics.
The answers to those things.
Naturalism does not give an answer.
Okay, so let's say naturalism doesn't give an answer to it because we don't know. That just means we don't know.
Okay. Well, then don't say that atheism answers the question.
I'm not saying answers.
I want an answer. I am hoping to get a naturalistic answer. I want to know. I'm a naturally very curious person.
No, you ain't gonna live long enough.
I think you could say atheism provides answers because atheism is attempting to get to not purport mystical supernatural outcomes to. Okay, there you go.
Measurements and time reversal and objective.
I want that book. I want every book. Jason, I want your books too. Mike, I want your books too.
I know.
I'm going to read if I can. This is since Taylor loves physics. This is a book on quantum mechanics. He was F.J. Belinfante, was referenced in my statistical mechanics and thermodynamics book. And so this book talks about quantum mechanics. He's a respected professor in quantum mechanics. And he has this to say: people are accustomed to assume that only persons can decide what to do. In this sense, some personality may be ascribed even to animals. Therefore, if I get the impression that nature itself makes the decisive choice what possibility to realize, where quantum theory says that more than one outcome is possible, then I'm ascribing personality to nature, that is, something that is everywhere. Omnipresent, eternal personality, which is omnipresent in taking the decisions that are left undetermined by physical law, is exactly in the language of religion what is called God. We thus see how quantum theory requires the existence of God. It says right here, we thus see how quantum theory requires the existence of God. Of course, it does not ascribe to God, defined in this way, any of the specific additional qualities that the various existing religious doctrines ascribe to God. Acceptance of such doctrines is a matter of faith and belief. If elementary systems do not possess quantitatively determinate properties, apparently God determines these properties as we measure them. We also observe the fact, unexplainable but experimentally well established, that God, in his decisions about the outcomes of our experiments, shows habits so regular that we can express them in the forms of statistical laws of nature. Since the macroscopic behavior of nature may be thought as determined by the behavior of its zillions of atomistic constituents, these statistical laws of nature with great precision lead to apparently deterministic laws that seem to govern nature macroscopically. Especially during the 19th and the early 20th century, this apparent determinism in macroscopic nature has hidden God and his personal influence on the universe from the eyes of many outstanding scientists. And there's the reference, guys, if you want to read more.
Well, I'm convinced.
Belenfante.
Not really, but what?
I put the link to that to the Amazon version of that in.
Let me see where in the chat.
In the description, I'm just about to save it. Give it a minute, dude.
No, yes, I will.
The Amazon link, so it's only $35 on Kindle.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, 31 paperback. That's not so bad. Okay, guys, I think I'm done.
Wait a minute. I've never read a research paper that uses the word zillions.
Yeah.
So,
I like zillions.
That would be a first for me. Zillions.
And then there's bajillions.
I have a feeling a reviewer would say, "Don't use the word zillions."
I remember when I was a little kid, and I understand, and I first heard the word Googleplex, and I was so excited about that. I would run around and think about how many zeros that was exactly.
22,000? I don't know. I forget. How much?
Isn't it 100 to the 100th power? Or wait a minute. What the hell is Google? Google is 10 to the 100th, right? So Pergamon Press. Okay, thanks. Googleplex is, I think Googleplex is a Google to the Google power or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a whole bunch. Yeah. Okay. So everybody agreed? Should we leave, guys? Should we end this thing? So I
just want to say thanks to Taylor and thanks to Sal for showing up, and we appreciate you guys coming on, being willing to talk.
I love talking. Yeah. Maybe we should do this another time because I'm like so interested in y'all's belief systems and
I followed you on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, Taylor. Maybe you and I can have a one-on-one on faith and Buddhism and whatever you want to talk about, or
that'd be cool. But yeah, I think we should show up to each other, and we'll get a better understanding, and this is what the viewers want. They want to hear all of our perspectives and talk, and have a dialect on them.
I promise to be nice.
Obviously, the viewers have the same questions we do. I
promise to be nicer to both you and Sella, and for at least for a few months until you.
Right. Let's be nice. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Okay.
But yeah, so anytime y'all send me a link. Send the link anytime. I'd love to join and talk to y'all and just exchange ideas.
Okay.
But yeah, it was great.
And we'll set something up with you and Dimiter. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Goodbye, cruel world.
All right. Goodbye.